They launched war against humans, her calm reply. At last, game on. The stars had stayed quiet for many centuries. The great species of the galaxy lived in careful order. The Vorseth, with their shining crystal bodies, ruled from tall spires. The luminari floated in soft light and spoke mind. To mind the Krell stood huge and armored like walking mountains. They formed the Galactic Concord. Long ago, they made rules about planets and ships and resources. Everyone followed or faced punishment. Humans came late to the stars. They were small, soft creatures from a wet, rocky world called Earth. They fought storms and beasts and sickness. To reach space, other species laughed at first. Then they stopped laughing. Humans built fast ships. They found empty worlds and turned them green. They traded and grew strong. The Conquered watched with narrow eyes. Humans did not ask permission. They just went and did things. One bright cycle, the Conquered called a grand meeting on Nexus Prime. The huge station spun slowly above a dead star. All important leaders came. The Vorseth High Arbiter stood on a raised platform. Its crystal skin glowed soft blue. It spoke to every world at once. The words went out on every channel. Humans must stop. Humans take too much. They spread without control. The Conquered gives this order. All human colonies beyond the Sol system must stop. All human ships beyond the home fleet must stop. Humans must join Conquered rules or leave the stars. If humans say no, the Conquered will remove them. The Conquered has spoken. The message ended. Silence fell across the galaxy. Worlds waited for the human answer. Some hoped for fear, some hoped for anger, some hoped for begging. On Earth, a woman named Admiral Ilara Voss heard the words. She sat alone in a plain room deep under mountains. Lights where low papers and screens covered the table. Coffee steamed in a black cup. She wore a simple gray uniform. Scars marked her face like old stories. Her eyes stayed calm and dark. Officers stood around her. They looked worried. One young man stepped forward. He spoke in a low voice. Admiral, what do we say? Should we talk? Should we fight? Should we hide? Ilara Voss lifted the cup. She took a slow sip. Steam rose past her face. She set the cup down without sound. She looked at the main screen. The face of the Vorseth High Arbiter still floated there, frozen in its last glow. She stood up straight. Her voice came clear and even. They launched war against humans. She stopped for one breath. Her lips curved into a small, sharp smile. At last, game on. The words went out live to every ship and every world. No shout, no long speech, just those words. And that smile. The feed cut to black. Alarms screamed across Conquered fleets. Officers stared at empty screens. Some felt cold, some felt confused. No one understood the smile. On board the Vorseth flagship called Crystal Dawn, the High Arbiter turned to its advisors. The glow on its body dimmed a little. What does this mean? It asked. One advisor answered with calm tones. Humans often speak strange words. Perhaps it is fear, perhaps it is a trick. Another advisor shook its head. No, that smile was not fear. That smile looked like a hunter who found fresh tracks. The Krell commander on his heavy warship laughed loud. Humans play games, he said. Let them play. We will crush their toys. The luminari elders linked minds in quiet worry. They felt something odd in the human words. It tasted like joy mixed with hunger. They had never felt joy like that before. Back on Earth, people heard the Admiral speak. Crowds gathered in city streets filled with voices. Some cheered, some stood silent. Parents held children close. Old soldiers smiled and nodded. Young pilots ran to their ships. Engineers opened sealed lockers full of plans marked for last resort. In hidden bases under oceans, and ice machines hummed to life. Old weapons woke from sleep. New weapons tested their fire for the first time. Automated factories deep in asteroids began to print parts. Small drones slipped out into dark space. They waited like patient spiders. Admiral Voss walked through the halls of her command center. Officers saluted. As she passed, she stopped at a wide window that looked out on stars. She spoke to no one in particular. They think this is a lesson for us. They think we will learn and bow. They do not know we have waited for this day. We trained in silence. We built in shadows. We dreamed of the moment someone finally threw the first stone. She turned to her staff, her voice stayed soft but firm. Start the quiet steps, no big moves, yet let them come close, let them feel safe, let them think they control the board. One officer asked Admiral, how long do we wait? Ilara Voss looked back at the stars, her smile returned small and cold. We wait until they cross the line, then we show them what humans do when the game begins for real. Across the galaxy, conquered ships moved into position, fleets gathered at jump points, scouts slipped toward human borders. They expected panic, they expected surrender, they expected easy victory. They found silence, empty stations, dark colonies, no signals, no pleas, no ships in sight. The Vorseth admiral on the lead ship sent a message to his fleet, all positions ready, fire, when I command we will burn their worlds clean. His officers nodded, they felt strong, they felt sure. Far away on Earth, Admiral Ilara Voss sat back in her chair. She opened a small screen. Data flowed in from hidden eyes across light years, traps, weighted minds. Slept drones watched factories, warmed engines purred. She lifted her coffee again. She spoke to the empty room. Come on then, come play. She drank the last sip, set the cup down, turned off the light. The stars outside stayed bright and cold. They waited for the first move. The conquered fleets jumped. They arrived in human space with perfect formation, weapons hot, shields, full confidence high. They scanned for targets. They found ghosts, empty orbits, silent planets, no resistance. The Vorseth admiral smiled wide. Victory comes easy, he said. Prepare bombardment. His weapons officer reached for the controls. Deep in the dark, a single sensor pinged. A small drone woke. Another followed, then 10, then 100, then thousands. The traps opened. Light flared across the void. Railguns spoke from hidden rocks. Missiles raced from dead hulks. Fighters poured from disguised yards. Nuclear pumps pushed deadly beams through space. Conquered ships burned one after another. The admiral stared at his screens. Red lights flashed warnings. Screamed, his voice cracked. What is this? How? No answer came, only fire, only loss. On Earth, Admiral Voss watched the numbers climb. Enemy losses rose fast, human losses stayed near zero. She leaned back in her chair. First blood, she said, now they know we bite. She stood up, walked to the door. Officers followed without words. The game had started, and humans played to win. The conquered fleets arrived in perfect order around the human colony at Proxima Centauri. 400 sleek Vorseth lances led the way, followed by glowing luminary mineships. And the massive Krell siegebreakers, the total count reached 1,200 warships. Shields shone bright, weapons stayed hot. The admirals felt certain humans would see the power and surrender fast. Scans showed empty space, no defense fleet waited, no orbital forts fired, no ground batteries spoke. The planets below looked quiet, cities sat, dark farms stayed. Still ships stayed docked or gone. The Vorseth admiral on the flagship Harmony Blade sent orders. All ships hold position, target military sites first, then cities if needed, show them we mean business. Weapons officers locked targets, beams, charged torpedoes, loaded the first volley, prepared to fall. Then the traps woke. Small objects that looked like junk drifted in the outer orbits, old cargo pods, broken satellites, forgotten probes. They had waited years silent and cold. Now sensors pinged one by one. They opened metal panels, slid aside, engines flared, tiny factories inside hummed to life. They spat out clouds of fighters, small, fast, vicious machines, painted black with red human symbols. Railguns hidden in asteroid cracks spoke first. Silent streaks of metal hit Vorseth lances at close range. Armor cracked, shields failed, explosions bloomed like sudden flowers. The conquered ships twisted to fight back, but more targets appeared everywhere. Jump mines activated next, small, cheap devices no bigger than a person. They had drifted for decades, waiting for the right moment. Nuclear pumps fired X-ray lasers in tight beams. They sliced through luminary hulls like knives through soft fruit. Mineships screamed as their telepathic links broke. Crews inside felt pain that burned the brain. Krell siegebreakers turned slow to face the new threat. Their heavy cannons roared. But human drones swarmed like angry insects. They attached to armor plates. They drilled, they exploded inside, they tore the giants apart piece by piece. The Vorseth admiral shouted orders, turn fire, and will protect the flanks. But the flanks filled with more human machines, fighters danced in patterns. No conquered pilot had seen they used gravity sling. As from planets they hid in sensor shadows, they struck, then vanished. 47 minutes past the conquered, lost 400 ships' hulls, drifted, burning crews died in silence or screams. Escape pods launched only to meet waiting drone swarms. No mercy came, no warning sounded, humans fought clean. And cold they ended threats fast. On the Harmony blade the admiral stared at red screens, half his fleet gone, no major human loss. Showed the enemy had not even appeared in person, only machines fought, only traps killed. He felt cold fear crawl up his crystal spine. What kind of species builds this much death, and leaves it sleeping for years? He opened a channel to the other admirals. We retreat, regroup at the rally point. This is not a simple victory. The surviving ships jumped away, leaving wreckage behind. The humans did not chase, they let the enemy run. Far under the Ural Mountains, Admiral Ilara Voss watched the battle on big screens. Numbers climbed, enemy losses, high human losses, almost none. A junior officer stood beside her. He looked pale. Admiral, they ran, we hurt them bad, should we follow? Ilara Voss shook her head slow. No, not yet, they still think this was luck, they still believe they can win the long game. Let them learn slow, let them feel safe again. She pointed at a side screen. Data flowed from Proxima scouts, showed conquered ships limping home, some leaked air, some lost engines. The admiral smiled small. They came for a quick lesson. Now they got a taste, we give them the full course next. Across human space, the quiet steps began. Factories under ice. An ocean woke, louder machines, printed more drones, more missiles, more ships. Parts flew from assembly lines. Engineers worked without sleep. Pilots trained in simulators that copied conquered weapons. Private ships joined the fight. Corporate fleets unlocked sealed hangars. Old warships from forgotten wars powered up engines. Crews laughed as systems came alive. In hidden yards near Jupiter, black project ships tested new drives. Strange weapons glowed. In test chambers, engineers whispered about things no one outside saw. Should know names like hate, eternal, no respite. Because, fuck you, that's why appeared on hulls painted fresh. On Earth, people watched news feeds. They saw the battle clips. They saw conquered ships burn. They cheered in streets. They hugged in homes. They knew the game had started for real. Old soldiers told stories to kids about past wars. Parents smiled proud. Young people signed up fast. Admiral Voss walked through her command center. Officers worked at stations. Data screens glowed. Maps showed conquered movements. She stopped at one big display. It tracked enemy fleets as they pulled back to safe zones. She spoke quiet to her staff. They think we tricked them. Once they will come harder next time. Bigger fleets, more weapons, deadlier plans. We let them build confidence. We let them plan revenge. Then we show them stage 2. One officer asked, how do we know they will attack again? Ilara Voss looked at the map. Red dots marked conquered rally points. They have pride. She said pride makes them stupid. Pride makes them come back for more. We wait, we watch, we prepare. When they cross the next line, we answer louder. She turned to a window. Stars filled the black. Nothing moved out there yet, but she knew soon the sky would burn again. In conquered space, the admirals met on Nexus Prime. The Vorseth High Arbiter glowed dim now. Its voice shook. We lost too much too fast. Humans use tricks. We must strike their heart. Worlds Alpha Centauri must fall. The Krell commander slammed a huge fist on the table. Yes, crush their factories, burn their shipyards, show no mercy. The Luminari elders linked minds. They felt doubt, they felt fear. But pride pushed them too. We commit the reserves. Planet cracker beams, neural disruptors, harmony engines. We end this now. The High Arbiter nodded. All fleets prepare full assault. Target Alpha Centauri. No retreat, no prisoners. Orders went out. Conquered worlds emptied of ships. Fleets gathered like storm clouds. They jumped toward human core space confidence. Returned, they believed numbers would win, they believed power would win. They did not know humans had waited centuries for this moment. Deep in Sol system, Admiral Voss received the scout, reports enemy fleets moving, big ones this time. They bring everything. She stood in her office, coffee cup empty now. She looked at her officers. They are coming for the boss fight. Good. Let them come close, let them see our home, let them think they can take it. She opened a sealed drawer, pulled out a small device, a black key. She pressed it. A hidden screen lit up. Plans appeared, old plans, new plans, crazy plans, things built in secret for days like this. She spoke to the room. Start the monsters, let the privateers loose. Let the black projects fly, let every human who wants to fight join. Officers saluted, they ran to carry orders. Ilara Voss sat back. She looked at the stars again, her voice came soft, almost happy. They still play by rules. We play to break them now. The real fun starts. Outside the bunkers, engines roared, ships lifted from hidden pads, drones swarmed into formation, privateers joined defense fleets, corporate armadas formed lines, rogue colonies sent their best. Humanity did not fight as one empire, it fought as many angry pieces, each piece sharp, each piece hungry, each piece ready. The conquered fleets arrived at Alpha Centauri. They saw human stations, they saw shipyards, they saw planets full of life. They charged weapons, they prepared the end. Then the monsters woke. Human ships appeared, not the clean defense fleet, not the expected navy, but wild packs, strange designs, ugly hulls, names that mocked, names that promised pain. They came from every direction, they moved in ways no conquered pilot trained for. The battle began, and the galaxy watched humans play for keeps. The conquered fleets jumped into Alpha Centauri space. With full power, planet cracker beams glowed on the biggest ships, neural disruptors hummed ready to break minds. Harmony engines spun, slow building force to twist reality itself. The Vorseth High Arbiter watched from Nexus Prime, its crystal body shone bright with hope. This time, they brought everything, no tricks would save the humans now. Scans showed human shipyards full of half-built hulls, colonies bustled with life, defense stations floated quiet. The admirals smiled, they saw weakness, they saw easy targets. The Krell commander roared orders, fire, it will break their spine. The first beams lanced out, planet crackers aimed at the main industrial world. Harmony engines charged to erase orbits, neural arrays swept toward human minds. They expected screams, they expected collapse. Then the real human fleet arrived. Not the neat defense lines, not the expected navy, but chaos wrapped in steel. Privateers came first, ships with wild paint jobs done by crews who lived for pay and thrill. Corporate armadas followed, hulls marked with company logos, weapons bought from black markets, old Cold War relics rose from deep storage. Engines coughed black smoke, but still burned hot. Experimental black project ships slipped in silent, strange shapes. No two looked the same, drives bent, light weapons, no one named out loud. The human ships moved like predators in tall grass. They did not form neat ranks, they danced, they twisted, they used every trick. Gravity wells, debris, field sensor ghosts. They came from angles the conquered never trained for. A single human heavy cruiser named Midnight Reckoning charged straight at the lead Harmony engine. It moved at 4/10 light speed, no shields, full, no weapons, hot, just mass and speed. The Vorseth ship tried to turn, the Harmony engine tried to rewrite space around it. Too late. The Reckoning slammed home, both ships vanished in a bright gamma flash that blinded sensors for hours. The conquered cheered, they thought mutual kill, they thought victory. A small drone ejected from the wreck, it carried black box data. It flew back toward Sol. It sent one short message home. Level 2, complete boss fight incoming. On Earth, Admiral Ilara Voss saw the flash on her screen. She sat in the Olympus Mons bunker, lights low, coffee cold now. She laughed once, short and sharp. They still think ramming is suicide. They have no idea what we keep in the garage. She turned to her staff, opened the sealed files. Release, the Hydra let every piece loose. Orders flew, private fleets got green lights, rogue colonies sent their hunters, black project captains woke their monsters, ships that had waited in dark docks, powered up names, appeared on hulls, hate eternal, no respite, payback is my favorite color because reasons. The battle turned fast. Krell dreadnought Titans fall tried to board a human carrier. It sent armored warriors through breach tubes, they expected soft targets. They found combat AI avatars, thousands running at once, each avatar fought like 10 men, they used zero gravity like home. They threw knives, they used walls as floors, they laughed through speakers as they cut down Krell giants. Luminari mineships reached out with neural probes, they tried to break human thoughts, they hit walls. Mimetic kill codes, human minds fought back with patterns that burned Luminari brains, telepaths screamed and fell, some turned on their own ships, crews died in confusion, mind shattered like glass. Vorseth lances tried elegant strikes, they used crystal precision, they danced in light, human fighters answered with brute force, railguns spat metal at impossible rates, missiles used swarm logic, they learned mid-fight, they adapted, they turned enemy moves against them. One human corvette named Laughing Skull hid in the shadow of a gas giant moon. It waited, it watched when a Vorseth lance passed close. It jumped out, it fired everything at point blank, the lance broke in half, the Skull crew cheered. They painted another kill mark on the hull. Conquered morale, cracked ships, refused orders, captains hesitated, fleets pulled back in disorder. Some captains sent surrender signals, they got no answer, humans kept killing. Admiral Voss watched the numbers, enemy losses climbed, human ships took hits, but kept fighting, some burned, some broke, some vanished into jump, only to come back angrier. She spoke to her command room, they bring gods, and we bring spite, they plan centuries, and we plan breakfast, let them see what happens when the tutorial ends. A scout report came in, conquered reserves, committed full planet cracker, array, online harmony engines at max, they aim to erase Alpha Centauri whole. Elara Voss nodded, good, bring the toys out. Hidden yards near Saturn, open doors, slid wide, strange ships lifted, not pretty, not clean, deadly in ways words fail to catch. One ship named Fuck Around, and find out, tested its main gun. It fired once a test beam hit. A dead asteroid, the rock turned to plasma in seconds, crew laughed, they knew the real target waited. Across human space, people watched feeds, they saw their ships fight, they saw conquered giants fall, kids cheered, parents cried, proud old veterans saluted, screens, engineers worked faster, factories ran hot day and night. In conquered space, panic spread, diplomats whispered defeat, admirals shouted blame, the high arbiter glowed dim, its voice shook, we underestimated, we must regroup, we must think. Too late. Humanity did not stop, they pushed, they hunted, they enjoyed, every kill fed the next, every loss made them meaner, privateers took trophies, corporate ships, build the conquered later, black project vessels, tested limits, they pushed physics, they pushed sanity. One luminary elder linked minds with survivors. It felt the human joy, it felt the hunger, it felt no fear, only fun. The elder broke the link, it wept light. Admiral Voss stood at her window, stars burned bright. She spoke quiet, they still think war has rules, we know war has no rules. When you swing first, we swing back harder, we swing back meaner, we swing back forever. She turned to a new screen, data showed conquered fleets pulling to their core. Worlds, they left traps, they left mines, they left warnings. Humans ignored them. Privateers jumped ahead, they hit supply lines, they burned depots, they took prisoners, only to send them home with stories of humans who fought like demons, stories of humans who smiled while bleeding. The conquered learned slow, they learned humans did not fight for land or gold, they fought because someone dared, they fought because the galaxy finally said come get some. And humans answered yes please. Elara Voss lifted a fresh coffee. She sipped slow, her eyes stayed on the stars. They wanted empire, we gave them a mirror now. Watch them scream at their own face. The battle raged on Alpha Centauri space, filled with fire and wreck, human ships danced through the mess. They picked targets, they broke formations, they turned the conquered dream into nightmare. And somewhere in the dark, a new wave of human ships formed, ready for the next level, ready to teach the galaxy what happens when you wake the sleeping predator. The game kept going and humans played hard. The conquered pulled back to their core worlds, leaving burning wrecks behind in Alpha Centauri space. Their fleets gathered around the crown jewel called Etherian, a massive megastructure that housed billions. It spun like a jeweled ring around a gentle star. Harmony engines lined its equator, ready to rewrite physics. Its self-planet crackers waited in bays. Neural arrays hummed soft. The High Arbiter stood on the central command spire. Its crystal form glowed steady. Now we have lost much, it said, but here we stand. Unbreakable, humans will come and break upon us like waves on rock. Admirals nodded, Krell warriors sharpened blades, luminary elders linked minds in calm focus. They rebuilt damaged ships, they called home reserves. They prepared the final trap. They believed numbers, an ancient power would win. They believed humans would tire. They believed wrong. Across human space, the mood changed. No more hiding, no more quiet steps. People felt the shift in their bones. Factories ran hotter, crews boarded ships with grins. Old men dusted off uniforms. Kids begged to watch the feeds. Parents let them. Stories spread fast. Humans who fought returned home with scars and tailies. They spoke of conquered ships cracking like eggs. They spoke of alien fear. They spoke of joy in the fight. Privateers grew bolder. They hit supply convoys. They burned fuel depots. They took prizes and sent mocking messages. Corporate fleets formed hunting packs. They used company logos like war banners. Black project ships tested new limits. Strange weapons fired in empty space drives pushed past safe speeds. Crews laughed at danger. They knew the galaxy watched. They wanted to be seen. Admiral Ilara Voss moved her flagship. Apocalypse deferred out from Sol shadows. It looked plain from outside, thick hull, plain gray. No fancy lights, no bright paint. Inside it carried death in every form. Layers of adaptive armor, smart missiles that learned mid-flight, boarding drones that mimicked human voices to confuse enemies, railguns that fired faster than sound could travel in air. She stood on the bridge, coffee in hand, eyes on the main screen. Data flowed in. Conquered fleets massed at Etherian. They prepare the end game, she said. Good, let them think. They set the terms. She opened a fleet-wide channel. Her voice went to every human ship, private, corporate, black project, defense, all of them. You know why we fight? Not for land, not for gold, not for orders. Someone finally swung first. Someone finally said, we end you. We answer simple, we end them first. But we do it our way, no mercy, no rules, no regrets. Fight smart, fight mean, fight happy, because this is what we do best. Cheers erupted on every bridge. Pilots slapped controls. Engineers high-fived. Crews sang old battle songs, some in English, some in other tongues. The fleet formed up, not in neat lines, not in rigid formations, in fractal patterns, layers upon layers, adaptive like living skin. Ships danced in ways that looked random, until you saw the math. Every gap covered, every angle watched, every shot predicted and dodged. The apocalypse deferred, jumped first. Others followed. Human space emptied of warships. They all headed for Etherian. Conquered scouts saw them coming. They counted numbers. They saw patterns. They felt hope fade. The High Arbiter watched the hollow display. Humans approach. It said, let the harmony engines sing. Let reality bend to our will. The engines spun faster. Light bent around Etherian space. Itself, twisted fields formed that could erase stars. The conquered waited. They believed this power unmatched. Human ships arrived in waves. First the privateers. They jumped close. They fired everything. They took hits. They kept coming. Explosions lit the void like fireworks. One privateer, named Pay Me in Blood, rammed a Krell siegebreaker. Both died in fire. The crew had time to send one last laugh over open channels. Corporate armadas struck next. They used precision. They targeted engines. They targeted power cores. They used weapons bought from forgotten wars. They broke shields. They tore hulls. Black project ships slipped through gaps. They used drives that cheated physics. They appeared inside enemy formations. They fired point blank. They vanished. They reappeared elsewhere. Chaos followed. The apocalypse deferred held center. It drew fire, it answered with thunder. Railguns spoke in rhythm. Missiles swarmed like bees boarding parties launched in powered suits. They sang as they cut through bulkheads. They turned conquered corridors into killing fields. The Harmony engines reached peak. They fired, their field swept out. It tried to unmake human ships. It tried to erase human minds. Humans answered creative. They jury-rigged Alcubierre bubbles around asteroids. They threw warped rocks at impossible speeds. They hit Etherian shields. They cracked them. Viral AI jumped from captured drones. It turned enemy machines against masters. It made Krell guns fire on their own hulls. It made Luminari arrays scream feedback. One human boarding team reached a Harmony engine chamber. They fought through guards. They reached the core. They planted a device. Small, cheap, overclocked. It fed power back into the system. The engine bucked. It screamed light. It turned inward. For 17 seconds, Etherian felt everything the Conquered had planned for humans reflected back. Triple strength. Every planned war crime, every planned terror, every moment of intended suffering hit the Conquered instead. Billions screamed, minds broke, bodies fell, leaders wept. Light. When the field collapsed, silence fell. Ships stopped firing. Crews stared at nothing. Admirals dropped to knees. The high arbiter dimmed almost black. Surrender signals flooded every channel. Conquered worlds broadcast. Please, fleets stood down. Weapons powered off. Escape pods launched with white flags. Admiral Voss watched from her bridge. Numbers stopped climbing. Enemy fire ceased. Human cheers filled the air. She lifted her coffee. She sipped slow. She spoke quiet. Game over. She did not glass Etherian. She did not burn worlds. She let the lesson sink in. She let the fear stay. Days later, a lone Vorseth diplomat met her on neutral ground. The alien trembled, its glow weak. It asked one question: why did you let it go this far? Why not end us quick? Alara Voss looked at the crystal being for a long moment. She spoke calm. Because you needed to learn what we already know. Peace is nice when someone swings first. We do not just fight to win, we fight because it feels good. We fight because we are built for it. And honestly, you gave us the best opponents in a long time. She stood, she turned to leave. She paused at the door. Next time you want a rematch, just send an invite. We will bring snacks. She walked out. Stars waited outside. Humanity borders grew safe. No one dared cross. No one dared challenge. The galaxy learned quiet. Humans played hard, and when they played, they won. On Earth, people returned to normal. Kids played war games with new rules. Parents told stories of the admiral who smiled. Old soldiers drank to fallen friends. Engineers built new things. Pilots dreamed of stars. Admiral Voss sat in her office under mountains. Coffee hot again. She looked at empty screens. She smiled small. They will remember this. They will teach their young. Never wake the sleeping predator, because when it wakes, it plays for keeps. The stars stayed bright. They stayed quiet. They stayed human. The megastructure of Etherian hung silent in the aftermath of the reflected field. Conquered ships drifted without power. Many listed to one side. Air leaked in thin white streams. Escape pods floated away like lost seeds. The Harmony engines stood dark, their glow gone, their song broken. Billions inside the ring world sat stunned minds, empty bodies. Still leaders who once commanded galaxies now stared at blank walls. Human ships held position. They did not fire, they did not board, they did not loot, they waited. Admiral Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the apocalypse. Deferred, her crew watched the quiet scene. No cheers rang out, no victory dances started. They felt the weight of what happened. They felt the end of something big. Voss opened a wide channel. It reached every conquered world, every ship, every station. Her face appeared on screens large and small. She spoke calm and clear. The war ends here. We do not burn your homes. We do not erase your stars. We do not hunt your young. You swung first. We answered. You planned our death. We showed you ours. Now you know what waits when you wake. Humans, you know the price of pride. You know the cost of underestimation. Go home, heal, live. Remember, never swing first again. The message ended. Screens went dark across the galaxy. Surrender became complete. Fleets powered down, weapons locked in bays. Crews stood down. Diplomats sent formal words of peace ships that once flew proud now carried white signals. On Etherian, the High Arbiter walked slow through empty halls, its crystal body dimmed to faint gray. It reached the central chamber, where the Harmony engines once sang. It touched one cold surface. It felt nothing. It turned to a surviving advisor. The advisor bowed low. "What now, High One?" it asked. The High Arbiter spoke soft. "We wait, we learn, we change. The humans did not kill us. They let us live. That is their message. We will carry it." Days passed, weeks passed. Human ships pulled back in careful order. They left scouts behind. They left sensors. They left warnings. No conquered vessel crossed the new lines without permission. Trade resumed slow, and careful ships met at neutral points. Goods changed hands. Words stayed few. On Earth, life returned to normal. Streets filled again. Schools opened. Markets bustled. Kids played in parks. Parents worked jobs. Engineers built new things. Pilots flew training runs. Old soldiers met in bars. They raised glasses. They told stories. They laughed about the admiral who smiled when the galaxy tried to end her. Admiral Ilara Voss sat in her office under the mountains. Papers stacked neat. Screens dark. Coffee steamed fresh. She looked at a small hollow picture of her old crew, some gone now, some still flying. She touched the frame. Gentle, she spoke to the empty room. "We won, we survived, we stayed. Us, that is enough." A knock came at the door. A young officer entered. He saluted crisp. "Admiral, a message from the Vorseth. It is the High Arbiter. It asks for a meeting. Neutral ground. It says they wish to talk." Voss nodded. "Set it up. No weapons, no fleets, just us and them. Let them choose the place." The meeting happened on a small station called Quiet Reach. It floated in empty space between borders. No guns, no shields, no tricks. The Vorseth High Arbiter arrived first. Its body glowed soft blue again. It waited in the central room. Chairs waited. Water waited. Silence waited. Admiral Voss walked in alone, her uniform plain, her scars plain, her eyes calm. She sat across from the crystal being. She spoke first. "You asked for this talk. Here I am." The High Arbiter bowed low. "We thank you for coming. We come to ask one thing. Why did you spare us? Why not finish what we started?" Ilara Voss leaned back. She looked at the stars through the window. She spoke slow. "Because finishing you would make us like you. We do not want that. We fight when forced. We win when we must. But we do not erase. We do not conquer for sport. We protect what is ours. We let others live unless they force our hand. You forced it. We answered. Now it is done." The High Arbiter dimmed a little. "We thought you weak. We thought you knew. We thought you pray. We were wrong. You are old in war. You are deep in survival. You are joy in the fight." Voss smiled. "Small joy, yes. We like a good game when the stakes are real. When the opponent is strong, we feel alive. You were strong. You gave us that. We thank you for the challenge." The crystal being looked surprised. "Thank us. You thank us for trying to kill you." Voss nodded. "You made us remember who we are. You made the galaxy remember too. That is worth something now. We both move forward. Different rules, different respect." They talked long hours. Past words stayed honest. No lies, no threats, no demands. When they finished, the High Arbiter stood. It bowed deep. "We will teach our young the story of humans. We will teach them caution. We will teach them peace." Voss stood. "Too good. Teach them that peace works. Until someone breaks it, then teach them what happens next." She turned to leave. The High Arbiter spoke one last time. "Admiral, if we ever need to speak again, may we send word?" Voss paused at the door. "Sure, send word. Bring snacks. We like snacks." She walked out. The door closed. Soft stars waited outside. Years passed. The galaxy changed. Trade grew. Borders settled. Stories spread. Children learned new lessons. Species met without fear. They met with care. They met with memory. Humanity expanded. Careful. New colonies bloomed. New ships flew. New stars, called privateers, became explorers. Corporate fleets became builders. Black project minds turned to peace tools. But the weapons stayed ready just in case. On quiet nights, Admiral Ilara Voss walked outside under Earth's skis. She looked up. She saw the same stars. She smiled. She knew the galaxy watched back. It watched careful. It watched respectful. It watched quiet. Somewhere in a conquered school, A young Vorseth asked a teacher what happened in the human war. The teacher glowed soft and answered they launched war against humans. The admiral said at last game on. And the humans played until the game ended. Then they let us go home. That is the lesson, never start a game you do not understand. The child nodded it, understood, the galaxy understood. And the stars stayed bright, they stayed calm, they stayed ready. Because humans lived there, and humans never forgot how to play. The end.